introduce you all to our team of people. They're not all here today, but we do have some folks filling in. My family, my nephew had a wedding today, of all things, in the middle of Sorgum. That is in Ohio, so a lot of our usual family members are there today. So I'm going to flip the camera around here and introduce you to everyone. This is my niece, Holly, and Julian. He's a neighbor boy. And this is my wife, Ruth, and Sophie. Sophie is actually Michelle's daughter. This is Michelle. And this is Jeremiah. This is my nephew. And Larry. Larry's a friend of ours, helping fill in. And this is my daughter, Charlotte. Say hi. And this is my brother, David. He's a special guy. Say hi. Can you say hi to everybody, Dave? Say hi right here to the phone. Say hi. Okay. And then we'll get to the other team member in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and go on up to the place where we're grinding the cane. Now, if I cut out for some reason, because I am on Wi-Fi here, if I cut out for some reason, I'll come back where I've got signal and rejoin. Can I get you to do a little demonstration so I can get this on? It's not holding, Carson.
What?
Were you able to hear me there, Genesis?
Oh, yes. What was that?
I don't think my Wi-Fi is going to hold for it.
No, you're fine.
Can you still hear me? It looks to me like I'm just, okay.
Yes.
Okay. It looked like I was disconnected.
No.
Okay. That's a whistle. That's a whistle we have on their steam boiler, and I'll be showing you that in just a few minutes here. The first, give you a little demonstration.
You're cutting out, Eddie.
Going around, and this is one of our hands that help us with sorghum. His name is.
Yep.
So what he's at.
You're.
Everybody wants in on a little bit of.
Eddie, you've lost Wi-Fi. He'll come back to us. I was in hopes he'd be able to show us. He'll come back. He has it's on the video that I had on NSDOAF's website. He has an animal, a horse. I think it's a horse, isn't it? That goes around and grinds the sorghum, or whatever it's called, the stalks. Now, I don't know what the stalks are called.
Cane, yeah.
Cane, sorghum cane, correct. And it's different. Well, let's see. You know what I'm going to do while we're.
Yeah, I hope he's not out there walking around telling us a story.
Let's see, not secure. See what I can find. There he is. Can you hear us?
There you are.
We lost you totally when you were up on the
Yes,
hill.
I'm so sorry. I had to X out and get back in and rejoin. So sorry about that. I don't have the signal there. We have a very, very poor signal here. I actually had Wi-Fi installed in order to be able to do this Zoom. But it's about 100 feet from the building and it just didn't hold it. So we'll continue on with the rest of it. That was the cane press. That was the cane press where we do that for demo purposes there. to show folks how it used to be done. And that's the way that it used to be done, you know, for production. But today, fast forwarding from the times of the Depression to now, we've increased our production ability by using a mill that my brother actually built that's powered with a tractor. Now there's some videos of that available different places on our Facebook page and on YouTube as well. There's quite a bit of information out there about us, and it shows that production video of producing the juice, of actually crushing the cane stalks and making the juice, and then we just bring it in a juice wagon, a 1,000-gallon juice tank, and from there we do the process. We do the process from there once we get it in. But so I'll pick up after talking about that. I'll pick up down here at the mill where I've got good signal now, and continue on with the tour. Let me flip the camera around here. So what I'm going to do is, y'all heard the whistle in the beginning, but I'm going to, hopefully the lighting will be okay here, that it'll work. Okay, so this is the back end of our steam boiler that we're creating the heat with for process for cooking the sorghum. This here I will show you is a little steam pump that is powered by the boiler. It's got a leak on it back here, if you can see. It's trying to spray some water that we need to get fixed, and that's why the piece of wood is laying on it like that, to divert so it doesn't spray people. But this pump is actually pumping water out of this holding tank right here. You can see the water level there. Maybe you can't because of the steam blowing out of it. It's pumping it out of that tank back into the boiler. And so you can see right here is our water level. That's about how full the boiler is. I don't know if you all know anything much about boilers, but I'm just going through it to show every little detail, you know, in case someone doesn't have any idea what we're doing at all. And so up there is the pressure gauge that shows you how many pounds of steam pressure is in the boiler. We're running at about 94 pounds there at the time. I'll open the firebox and give you a up close and personal of that. Can everyone see those tubes back there? Those are what we call fire tubes. There's water all around all those tubes, and the fire travels through those tubes, you know, heating the water, and then that's where the smoke gets out. So I'll switch it back around here. So then coming into the mill, of course, this is all our wood here. You see all the wood stacked up. We actually have a firewood processor where we create this. The guy's coming in, James is coming in with a load of wood. I'll try to get out of his way here. He brings it down, brings it right down that step and gets it right up to the boiler door where he can throw it in. We'll actually watch him do that a little bit.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So we'll move on from that now. But again, in case anyone wondered what is this other machine sitting here, it is exactly the same thing. We have two pumps that can work simultaneously. And this one hasn't been used a lot today, so it'll take just a minute. Well, it's actually going to work okay. It's a little bit different than my my signal to be able to connect up with you. Maybe it's going to want to work. Come on. Yeah, like I say, it hasn't been used. Well, it would help if I had the had the valve open, it would go. And this is just the control apparatus here. This right here would be the oiling system that oils. You have to add oil to the steam to lubricate these parts inside the pump. Otherwise, the steam is so raw, it'll try to hit the inside and it won't work. So you do have to add oil. This is the water pump end right here, actually. This is the part that does the water pumping, and this over here is the part that powers it. Go ahead and shut that off. And then we'll move on inside where we're actually doing the cooking. This is all just the heating process here. So it takes quite a team of people here to work this. So the next thing I'll say is coming in from the field with our 1,000-gallon juice tank on wheels, of course. We bring the juice into close to the building, and we dump the juice into these tanks. I'll get up here. Okay, sorry about that. My phone glitched on me. This is showing the inside of the tank where the raw juice is. Now the raw juice gets preheated. If you see those coils, those lines inside there, they're heating coils also fed by steam. Here's an empty one so I can show you. That's what the coil system looks like. So we preheat it for several reasons. One reason is that it'll keep your juice from souring. If the weather is warm and you don't preheat it or cool it, it will sour within 3 hours. So you have to preheat it or cool it. So, it just makes more sense to preheat because we're going to cook it the next day anyway. So we do all that. We do all the harvesting the day before. So like yesterday, I got 1,900 gallons of juice, which is actually a small day. We generally run 3,000 gallons through in a day. And so then the other thing it does, and I'll flip this back around so you can see the product. So you see the green on top of this. First of all, let me show you this. You see the juice running on there. You can see it's not totally green, and that's because it's been heated to 160 degrees. And a lot of your green chlorophyll that's in the plant has floated to the top in the tank already. So that's number two. It cleans up your juice a whole lot, so you don't have as much of this stuff here floating that you constantly have to skim. And so I'll just demonstrate here real quickly how we actually skim that. We just got a device that is perforated. It's, the juice will go through it, and you just skim it off like that. Hopefully I'm holding the camera so everyone can see well. Trying to do my best here. Okay. And so you don't have to do that constantly. You can let it build up for a little while because it always builds up right along the outside edge of the pan. And there's a reason for that also, why it collects there. And that reason is, if you look here on our pan, we have the heating jacket comes to here and over to this side to here. Oh, come on, phone. There it is. Okay. And from here over is cold spot. There's no heat, no direct heat underneath it. And so those skimmings will automatically collect at the cold spot where there's no heat. So basically, as it runs on there through that screen, it just runs, as you look on that pan, this pan has baffles. And the juice runs down around each baffle, all the way down this pan. The pan is about, I think the pan is about 26 feet long. So the further down it comes, you can start to see it starting to change a little color in the way that it looks. So here we've got some skimmings collection. I'll get those in a minute. But then this here is what we call the pre-cooker. It comes out of the pre-cooker down onto the finished pan at a lower level. I'll get down here where you can see it all. Now this pan is also built that way with the wings on the outside because you still will have a few skimmings. At this point of the cooking, you'll still have some skimmings. And so you need to be able to clean it. That's the number one key about making sorghum. If you can't clean, if you don't keep the skimmings out of it, you're going to have some really strong, bitter sorghum that a lot of people call molasses. So, yeah. So there's technical things about that also, but we'll open it up for questions and answers here after a bit. But so then here, let me walk around the other side here.
As sent to attendees by email are adopted. Presentation of the conference agenda. You will note that we don't have a program because we're not going on different meals and moving about. So we just the agenda.
Meeting's going on.
Who is our
There we go.
Everybody, Eddie, I'm going to mute everybody for just a moment, then I'll unmute you, okay?
Okay, I wasn't sure if someone was talking to me or not. That's great.
Okay, hold on. See if I can figure this out.
on the 11th of September. Thank you. The motion is to accept the agenda as distributed on the 11th of September.
Somebody's using the same link.
Eddie, would you and Glenn please unmute? Thank you, Glenn.
Certainly.
Eddie, could you unmute, please? Thank you.
Yes.
You've got the floor again, Eddie.
Thank you, Genevieve. So here, as you can see, this is where it's running off of the pre-cooker down onto the finish pan. And it's the same idea here around each baffle. It travels back and forth. The reason for those baffles is so you can control the juice. If you didn't have these baffles in and you're trying to do continuous slow cooking, because sorghum used to always be made in batch pans. You have to run a batch of juice on and then run a batch of juice on and then cook it till it's done and shut everything down and then take the sorghum off. And I'll talk about some other things in a minute too. But if you're trying to do continuous flow, by the time if you started in the morning time, letting the juice on, by the time the end of the day would come, you may still have some juice on the pan that's been there since morning because you have no way to control it and to make it travel. So that's where the idea came from for the baffles, to make it travel. And your sorghum product doesn't end up being as nice. It's darker, stronger. And so there's just little things like that that make a big difference. So then here, this is the sorghum coming out of the, so we just control it. We control from up here, whenever it's thick enough, we just open that valve and let it down into here. This is a strainer, a screen. It goes through that screen, down in here, down the little pipe, over to the pump. See it turning there, and then up, 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 overhead. It goes across there. Now there where you see the gauge, the temperature gauge, there's pipes inside of that piece of steel where there's water all around those pipes. And its primary job is to get it started cooling. Because one important factor is you've got to cool the sorghum down before you bottle it. So then from there, it goes onto the trays and runs back and forth across those trays. You can see it running there. On down into the tank. And this is where they're bottling. This is where the bottling happens. Get up real close there so you can see. So that's where all that's going on. I'll open it up, or Genevieve, you can open it up for questions. I don't know how you do that for sure, but I'll be happy to take some questions.
Thank you, Eddie. This is absolutely amazing. If you want to speak, please unmute yourself. and
Okay.
we'll take some questions. Charlie Mullenweg,
Yeah,
Glenn, you want to call on them?
Oh, Charlie, go ahead.
thanks, Glenn. Hi.
Sure.
Eddie, do you guys have any uses for the stuff that you skim off the top, the chlorophyll and other detritus?
Very great question. Thank you. Yes, there is a use for it. You can use it for cattle feed, hog feed, or even horses like it. We don't currently collect it anymore. My dad was big into collecting it and feeding hogs, but none of us have hogs anymore. After he passed on, we just kind of gave up that part of it, and at this point, we're just flushing them down the tube. But that's a great question. There's a lot of value there. We realize there is. You know, you can really fatten some pigs in a hurry. In 2 months, they'll put on a lot of weight from that.
Does that answer your question, Charlie?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Okay, well, but the next question is from me. I don't even know if it's a question really. That is just a fascinating process. It's like a monument to the Industrial Revolution. The steam plant is just incredible. I have a little experience in that, and it's just amazing to see that. I don't know. Is it eligible for? How old is the plant? I'll ask that first.
Sure, no problem. It's a great question. That boiler actually, we actually ordered that and had it built new in 1993. We had an old one in there. It was what they call the riveted boiler. You would know what that is then. It was a riveted boiler, and we had used it for, I think, 5 years, somewhere around 5 years, and it was so old already that it got pitted so badly that the state condemned it, and we had to either get that boiler fixed or get a new one. And we found a guy or an outfit in Wichita, Kansas, that actually built this new one for us. And it's a welded boiler.
Okay, and my next question is going to be, what sort of sanitation and industrial safety inspections do you have to go through to keep running? Because steam is dangerous, as you know. I'm sure you've been scalded more than once. You know, it's an outdoor operation like that. I'm wondering what sort of regulations apply to your operation.
Well, that's a really good question from a safety perspective. There is we do have to obtain a permit once a year from the state of Tennessee, and they send out an inspector annually to check on the boiler and make sure that it's in running order. Other than that, it's very minimal, I feel like, safety-wise, that they make us go through. So that is a plus for us. But yes, we pay the fee for the permit, and then the boiler inspector comes out and checks us out. And of course, the handholds come out at the end of the year, and all the water gets drained, and so he checks around that, shines in different places, and checks it out. So yeah, that's about the size of that.
Eddie, what year did your father come in, and what was he using in the original containers?
That's a really great question. He did not have steam outfit at that time. He came into this area from Pennsylvania in 1965. That was 15 years before I was born. And they were with a group of old order Mennonite people that they had some seriously different beliefs. They felt like they were in end times right then, and that it would be a very short time that they would even be able to, till the Lord came back. And so that's the kind of mindset they came here with. Well, my dad started talking to the locals, and people talking about they called it molasses at that time. And a lot of people still do call it molasses. And I get this question all the time: what's the difference between sorghum and molasses? But he started seeing the potential of having something to offer his children, and something he could work with his boys together with. So there's 7 of us boys in total in our family. And and he saw it as a great opportunity. And so they actually, my mom and dad actually started together with that group of people that they were here with, who then later moved on and went to a different community, and my dad stayed here, and started his own sorghum mill, which is here at this location at this time. This is the original mill that my dad started. And the way that he would have heated the sorghum and cooked it would have been with a direct fire under the pan. Now there are some videos also. I think it just got posted last Thursday on our Facebook page of some history to that, and it goes through and shows the different time frames, and where I think it starts in 1983, and then it shows you 1988 or something like that, and then they had like 3 different time frames showing what all had changed and what they had done different. And it was in 1988 that we actually put in the steam operation. Of course, I should say they did. I was a 7-year-old boy then. So,
Wow.
does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I just went on the website, so I see, oh my gosh, you have quite a few since I was on your website.
Yeah, since we've been producing, we are trying to post something at least once a week, and often twice a week. We've been, Michelle has been taking care of the Throwback Thursdays. She's been doing different things, just showing some history of us, where it all was and where we're at today.
Eddie, do you mind if I share screen so they can see the process, the press, please?
Yeah, go right ahead. Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share screen with everyone.
I have a
Go ahead.
question when you have time.
Can everyone see this? This is one of his, I believe, Eddie, is this your press?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Here.
Okay, and can you tell what that one is?
That is me. That is me when I was, I would have been 13 years old there, cultivating the crop.
And that's the crops.
Yes,
So
that if you go back to that other picture where that showed the crop, that one. That is how we used to process it. See, there's so many things that changed over the years, it's hard to even remember it all for me. That is how we used to cut it by hand with machetes and put it on piles.
Well, is there any,
And
go ahead.
yeah, and then we had a press that it was still on wheels, and we would go out there and hand feed that press with those piles of cane. That picture there was taken last Saturday, I do believe. Hey, there's a good video of it. Yes, yes.
Okay, can you explain it?
The plant.
Yeah. So all that's happening is the horse is just pulling that pole around there for leverage, because the press will turn very hard. And that's my daughter Lana there. She's I think she's 10 or 11 there on that video. That's her feeding the cane in.
She's a very beautiful mule. Her name is Maddie, and she is 14 years old. Matty, M-A-T-T-Y.
Look at that.
This is all the people standing around watching this happen. Let me get a little shot of this right here.
Oh, look.
It's the raw juice coming out as the stalks are being crushed. It runs down into just a makeshift little funnel, if you will, or track for it to run into. It runs down into this barrel that has burlap sack on it. Now this is just the raw product. It gets cooked yet. It runs down into that line and goes right straight underground. Goes underground and goes down there to that mill you see under the hill there, sitting lower, and we'll do the cooking process there. I'll pick up the video down there.
Eddie, do you want me to show anything else, or do you want to do that?
That pretty much explains that part of it.
Okay. Sorry, 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 sorry,
Not so many beans, Genesu.
It's okay.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
I have a question when you have time.
Yes, Donna.
This is I understand this is a gluten-free product.
No wheat.
Eddie, you're muted.
Me? Yeah, they didn't realize I was still on the Zoom call and they've blown the whistle again. Sorry about that.
Did he
go
hear
ahead,
me?
Donna. Go ahead, Donna.
Is this a gluten-free product?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
So you grow it, you process it from the time it goes in the ground till the time it's bottled.
That's correct. We do the
Wow.
whole thing. We do at times purchase from neighboring operations, or when I say neighboring, as far away as Iowa and Kentucky. We do have quite a demand for it. So at times, depending on how good the demand is, we will buy from other producers who are the ones that do it all from start to finish as well.
Amazing. I know my son uses this product because he's trying to be a gluten-free because he's having trouble with his stomach. So
Yes, it's a huge advantage, not to mention that it's a major antioxidant, one of the world's greatest antioxidants as far as food goes. And we've just recently learned that in the last few years that it even had that. We didn't even know it.
oh, very interesting.
Eddie, what is the difference in sorghum and molasses? And then you've got two more people with questions.
Yes. Okay, so molasses is a leftover product from sugar cane. Now, we're not producing sugar cane, we're producing sorghum cane. So it's just two different canes. Now, when they take the sugar out of sugar cane, then their leftover juices, they will boil and thicken it down as much as they can. And that is actually molasses. It's actually blackstrap molasses. You can buy it in stores, different places. I don't know just where exactly. I think like Kroger's probably has it. But it's really bitter and strong. And if people say, I don't like molasses, then I know what they're talking about. They probably haven't tasted sorghum. Now, not everyone likes sorghum. I'm not saying that either. But I always try to get people to at least taste it. And if you don't like it, I'll never ask you to taste it again. but if they tell me they don't like it, that's why. So sorghum then is just made from sorghum cane, like what we're doing. It's a pure product. There's nothing added to it. There's nothing. The only thing taken away is the water you boil out of it. In the process that I showed you, just by cooking out the green that's in it and the water, the moisture. And I'll show you guys here. We do these tours all day long. So the guy from up at the press where I was at a little bit ago brought a group of people down to show them. So we do these tours all day long, every day.
Eddie, this is Davina Lipman. How much sorghum do you eat in a week?
Oh, that would be hard to tell. I would say I probably, on average, would eat a cup
Okay.
of sorghum. Yeah, I really like it.
Yes.
Betty Otterwald, you had your hand up, and Leona Ware after Betty.
Okay. I used to do a school demonstration showing how you made maple syrup, and you need 40 gallons of maple syrup to make 1 gallon, 40 gallons of sap to make the 1 gallon of syrup. But your process is so much more complicated. I anticipated it to be sort of like making maple syrup, and it isn't at all. So I'm very impressed with what you do.
Yes, well, thank you. And the other thing I would mention there too is something I don't think I shared with you, that it takes on the sugar ratio of sorghum. Right now we're getting about 8 gallons of juice to 1 gallon of finished product.
Okay.
Now that can fluctuate depending on the weather. If it's really wet, it's gonna take 11 or 12 gallons of juice, but that's the worst. I mean, I have seen it as high as 13 gallons of juice, but I've never seen it higher than that. If it's higher than that, something's wrong. The cane is not right. It's not ready to go yet.
Thank you.
So you're welcome.
Leona?
Eddie?
Yeah.
What do you do with the crushed cane? Is there any use for that?
Well, we just let that go back to the ground as we're harvesting out in the field. As it passes through the press, it crushes it into almost a powder. Like, I mean, it's so broken up that you can pick up a handful of it and just drop it in pieces. So we let that go back into the ground for the health of the soil and so on. And it would take other equipment, to deal with that. So it's kind of a win-win. You're putting something back in the ground of value.
Thank you.
Sandy?
What do you normally use it for? Or what do you put it on?
Anything and everything. I could drink it.
You just use your imagination. If you get a Red Baron pizza from the grocery store and warm it up in the oven, I love sorghum on that. But not everybody does. Some people are like, yeah, you got a tomato taste with sweet. But to answer your question, right, cornbread, bread, you can put it in cookies. You can use it in baked beans. Put it in green beans. Just a few tablespoons, 2 or 3 tablespoons in your green beans will totally change the way green beans taste, in my opinion. It just makes them. Well, I didn't like green beans until we started putting sorghum on them. But some folks put it in their coffee. What are some other things? Well, we have a cookbook that every recipe in it calls for sorghum. But
I purchased the cookbook. It's good.
I don't know about y'all, but I grew up poor Irish and we ate sorghum biscuits all the time.
yep, and it's great on biscuits.
You would use whatever wheat or flour, whatever flour you could get, and you'd make the biscuits with sorghum. And there's sort of a bittersweet biscuit, and they're wonderful.
Yeah.
It looks like Pat has her hand up. I don't know.
Yes.
I'm going to
Can
turn
you
it back
tell
to
us
you, Glenn.
about growing the sorghum and then how long, it takes to germinate, and then in the dormant time, do you put other crop cover over, or the farming aspect?
Okay. Yes, we typically do not plant before the middle of May. We'll start planting the middle of May. If the soil is not warm enough, we tell everybody, other growers will talk to us, people that are wanting to start growing a little. We tell everybody, if your soil is not warm enough, you're throwing your seed away. It will not come up. So we don't start planting till the middle of May because it's just, most of the time, it's just not warm enough. So it's 90 to 100 days is the time that it takes to bring it to maturity. It takes about a week, approximately a week, if the soil is warm enough. It takes about a week for it to germinate and come up. And it doesn't take much seed. A handful of seeds will plant a half acre.
And what
It's
do you
incredible.
do when you're not growing sorghum?
Oh, well, being on the farm, we've got all kinds of other things going. I personally have a trucking company that, of course, it's just one truck. It's me that does the driving and do my own scheduling. So when sorghum harvest comes in, I transfer my work to other drivers and park my rig.
Janice, do you want to say something before Nancy asks her question?
No, sir. I want to just
Okay.
hold this. I'm just going
Okay.
to hold this.
Nancy,
How many acres do you plant? Number one, what kind of yield do you get per acre? And how much do you end up with? What's your finished product? How many bottles of
question.
sorghum do you actually end up with? This
Great
comes from a
question.
farm life, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. So, okay, I'm trying to remember the first question.
The acres.
How many acres?
How many acres? Okay, so there's three partners.
Darlings. John, how are you?
Each of us has about 20 acres, so we've got about 60 acres total. And our yield will be depending on how the crop does. You know,
Oh, yeah.
there'll be most of the time about 2,500 gallons of raw juice. So that will boil down to around 250 gallons of finished product. So it's the best. It is, from what we know about farming, you know, not having done everything obviously that the country offers as far as agriculture, but it's the best financial opportunity in farming that we know of. Because at $30 a gallon, you know, you can do the math. Of course, now that is retail price. We do sell it wholesale, but you know, you can average $2,500 an acre. Easy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Donna, and you're muted. You're muted, Donna. There you go.
I got it. Is this a sugar alternative? I see it on the shelves. I'm looking right now. It's right next to the honey. So is this used as a sugar alternative?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, like in fact, in the times of the Depression, a lot of people didn't have sugar. They didn't have the option, but they would grow a little cane and they would produce a little sorghum, because back in those times, you had a lot of, you know, every so many miles, there'd be a neighborhood sorghum mill. There would be, if not every so many miles, you know, there would be at least one in a community, and where everybody took their little bit of cane to, and they would process it, and the guy that did the processing would get a portion of it, you know, for him having done it, and then what was left, they would take and use for their own personal use.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is very interesting.
This has been phenomenal. I'm so pleased that you are presenting this. I had no idea.
What are you doing, little guy?
And when I contacted him, I bought this first before I contacted him. Then after I had this, I got to call him and see if he'll do the Zoom for us. And
I was cultivating the crop back there in the field when she called, or when we got to talk.
And I absolutely love sorghum. It is, and I'm going to give you a plug, Eddie. It is probably the best sorghum I have ever tasted, because it seems to be smoother. Is that correct, Eddie? It's smoother and it has a lighter taste than other sorghums. That's about the best way I can explain. It has a heavenly smell. I wouldn't wear it for perfume, but it does have a heavenly smell. So
we hear that a lot. We hear that a lot, that it's a smoother, more mild taste.
Okay, so I was right. Okay, it is.
Yeah.
So for everybody that's on the Zoom, I'm going to have a contest, and I'm going to ask what is, if you can send me, or right now, tell me how many gallons of sorghum that he produces a day. I'm going to give one of these. I'm going to send you one of these, if you can tell. So
No Googling.
No Googling, no Googling. Okay, can anybody put it on the screen right now? Can anybody tell the answer?
Oh, Charlie's got her hand up.
Sure, Charlie.
I could be very wrong, but I thought he said 3,000 gallons.
Okay, Eddie said. Eddie, what is it? Anybody else?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what'd you say?
Okay, I would say 1,000 gallons.
Okay, all right. Anybody else?
Yes, he said it was 1,900 is what he got the other day. I thought that's what he said, but up to 3,000.
Okay, so what's your
of the raw beef. He's 1900.
So you're saying 1900. Anybody else? Nobody else wants to guess? Davina, you want to guess?
I thought he said 250 gallons on the finished product.
Okay,
I'll say 300 gallons.
okay, 300. All right, am I going to close it or am I going to keep it up? Nancy, you've got a bid. You got to tell us what your thought was. No, you won't even do it? Okay. All right, what is it actually, please, Eddie?
So on a typical day, we do 3,000 gallons of juice.
3,000. All right, so who said 3,000?
Charlie.
Charlie, did you say 3,000?
I
And-
did, but I believe Pat also said 3,000.
Pat, did you?
I say,
All right.
19 to 3,000 was his raw juice that he.
Okay, and Cindy, didn't you say 3,000? Cindy Johnson, Sakuma?
But what's the finished product? How many bottles of the finished product? Or what are you asking, Janice?
Yeah, he said 240 for the finished, I thought.
Yeah, so it's 3,000 gallons of juice on a typical day. And that boils down, depending on the sugar ratio, that's between 300 and 350 gallons of finished product on a 3,000 gallon day.
All right, well, so I'm going to order 3 different shipments. I'm going to order one for Charlie, one for Cindy, and who was the and Pat, weren't you in it? So I'm going to order 3 of them from him and have him ship them to you. So you'll get the same little pint that I have. And
You're
if you
too kind, Janice.
Very good. Very
And I'll
good.
make me some biscuits.
okay, good, good,
Hey,
good.
Genevieve,
Yes, sir.
I
Yes.
just wanted to remind you that if anyone wants to order, to make sure that they have the correct web address.
Which is?
Please give it.
All right. It is Guenther, and that is spelled Guenther, Sorgum, SORGHUM.com.
Got it. You know, give me a second again. I'm going to share a screen so they see exactly what it looks like. All right, so this is what is this correct, Eddie?
That's correct. That's my web address.
All right.
Wow.
Wow.
So there it is. And then I'm going to come down here and look at that. Buy online and get free shipping. I'm going to do that for the 3 of you. All right.
So it is 300, it is 300 gallons of finished product that you
That's
get.
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought.
Look at that. Isn't that great?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, back to you, Glenn.
Oh, are there any other questions? I just wanted to say, Eddie, every time we do one of these presentations, it makes me so appreciative of my easy desk job. You guys are, farm work is just, it's just too much. Even when I wasn't my age, the sun up to sundown work that you do and your entire family does, just with little to no fanfare, is just incredible. So, and Geneseo, I'm ready when you are.
Yes. Glenn always does a toast for us. And if there are no additional questions, we're going to say thank you to Eddie and we're going to have a toast. So, Glenn.
Yes. So first of all, I wanted to say, when someone asked Eddie some of the products that they make with sorghum, they did not mention beer. So they replaced the wheat and barley with sorghum, and it gives it a distinctive taste, but it's not a bad taste. It's actually a very good taste, and it's gluten-free. So those of you who enjoy beer but can't, generally can't drink anything but Heineken, this is a definite alternative. So in honor of sorghum, we'll be toasting with that
Yeah.
today here.
Fun.
So,
All right. And also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, absolutely. Go ahead.
I just had one more thought. I didn't think to mention that they do make rum with sorghum as well. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
And the Chinese love it. They make a particular liquor with it. And I know that was a couple years ago, that was sort of a thing. They just love the sorghum, and they put a tariff on it. And there was a whole thing with Chinese being removed as a customer for the sorghum farmers in the country. But I think that's been worked out. So if everyone's ready, do you have anything to toast with, Eddie?
Give me something. Hold on just a second. It'll just be a glass of water.
Water's fine.
It's a bottle of sorghum.
A bottle of sorghum. Let's do that. All right. All right. I'm ready.
Okay. On behalf of the officers and members of the National Society Descendants of American Farmers, I wish to thank Eddie and the entire Guenther family for joining us today and sharing their knowledge and passion for an often overlooked but undeniably vital facet of agriculture. As the effects of climate change become more pronounced, it is likely that the high heat and drought tolerance of sorghum, as well as the resistance to pests granted by the high level of proanthocyanidins it produces, will increase its prominence and use in many of the foodstuffs that currently depend on corn and corn syrup. The experience and knowledge of sorghum farmers such as the Guenthers will be invaluable in such a transition. And so we raise our glasses to the Guenthers. May their family remain healthy and happy now and for generations to come. And may the Muddy Pond Sorghum Mill see many years of steady growth and abundant success. Cheers.
cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. We have a fun group, Eddie. Thank you so much. Thank you
You're
again.
very welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
very welcome.
Thank you.
Glad I could do it for you all.
I appreciate you.
Incredible.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Oh,
You're very welcome.
Colleen has a question.
Oh, Colleen.
Colleen, do you have a question?
That's applause.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Keep up the
Thank
good work.
you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.